Thank you for watching Whiz Bang's blog. Today we're going to take a look at the second life principle, and it's a real doozy. And I must admit, it's one that's just been so good for me in my life, so don't go away. So far, we've taken a look at truth as one of the foundation stone life principles of my own life. And I must admit, truth, I got such great feedback from it. And so thank you very much. Keep it coming in. And feel free to pass around to your friends that video. But truth is just such a foundational stone for every single relationship. Now, the other part of the quarter of my triangle, remember I have this triangle in life that I really developed when in my 20s. And the other one we're going to be dealing with today is trust. Trust is so important. Develop trust. Trust, one of the things I find about trust is that it just takes time. It takes time to develop trust with people. It's not a wham bam thank you ma'am, but it's like you're in it for the long haul with someone, and particularly your relationships. And to have a trusting organization is just mind blowing. If you could went and bought a product, say from a particular shop, did you really trust that shopkeeper to fulfill the obligation to save a warranty or something like that? It is so important. But trust is also the foundation not only of relationships, of society as a whole. Like, if there wasn't trust, then we wouldn't have society. There is a societal joining of trust from one to another. You trust that people will drive on the correct side of the road. You trust your neighbor is not going to suddenly go and blow your house up. You trust the different parts of society to function as a whole. When you go to see a doctor, you trust them. When you go and speak to a lawyer, you trust them. Your accountant, you trust them. And so it's a bond of trust one to another, which is an example of society. Or say with your wife or your kids, do you trust them? Like at the minute you don't trust a person, then those relationships begin to fracture. So I take a look, for instance, at what's happening around the world with the different reactions to the COVID disaster, and even Black Lives Matter and all that sort of stuff as well. It's a fracturing of trust. It's a fracturing of trust, is that people are no longer trusting each other. And it's really sad. It's really sad to see that happen. So what are the characteristics then of a person that is trustworthy? Number one, they're a person of integrity. Integrity really comes from the root word, which is an integer, which means whole. They're a person's whole. They're not perfect. By no sense are they perfect, but they're a person of integrity. They stand up with their shoulders back, and they're at peace with themselves. That's a trustworthy person. That's a person that I must admit I aspire to be, is to be at peace with myself and that I am whole. They're also consistent. They're consistent. The people are consistency. So if they say they'll do something, then they will do it. And if for whatever reason they haven't done it, then it's like way out there. So if you go along and ask someone, can you pick me up from the airport? And they say yes, and then you arrive and they're not there, do you have a reaction of, yeah, that's just like them? I shouldn't have asked them in the first place. Or do you have like, oh my gosh, this is so unusual. Like, I hope they're okay. Yeah. So a person who's trustworthy, you have the second sort of reaction. But they're consistent in what they say they'll do. And that's a challenge in today's environment, because we have so many demands on our time that a part of being consistent is being wise with where you allocate your time and what you say you will do and things like that. And that's tough. I know with my own job and what I do and things like that, and there's always deadlines, and sometimes you miss those deadlines. It just kills me on the inside, because I hate missing deadlines, because I want to be known as a person who's consistent, that I will say what I will do and I will get it done. Or at least have a reputation that, you know what, this is so out of the ordinary. So consistency. They're compassionate. They're compassionate. That's an interesting word. Yeah, it's a lot of people, I think they view compassion as a weak as a weak sort of emotion. In reality, it's incredibly strong. When you go along and show compassion for another person, you're really putting yourselves in their shoes and you're embracing them and you say, "Oh my gosh, your situation," and showing real heartfelt, being generous with your heart anyway, towards that person. That's one of the things I found is that when you show compassion towards someone and it's not warranted or they don't expect it, it has the most impact. But you're not doing it because you want to have the most impact. You're doing it because that person has incredible needs to have someone just show them some compassion. I remember recently a person I knew, they'd lost their job because of COVID and all that sort of stuff. And I met them. I straight away went up to them and showed some real compassion towards them, and real heartfelt because I was really feeling for them. And the response was one, it was surprise, but then, oh, it's so good to have someone that I can rely upon who will be there for me. And that's so true. If you're going to really be consistent and be a person of integrity, you need to show compassion at times to people. Resourceful, yeah. Trustworthy people are often very resourceful, and they'll go out of their way for you. You can ask them for something, and they'll say, "Yes, I will do this," and sure, they'll follow through on it, but they'll go out of their way. They're very resourceful people. They have an incredible number of skills, and I view it as almost like, because they're also curious about the world, and so they develop all sorts of weird and wonderful skills. They're humble. They're not doing things to say, "Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm the new shiny, shiny." They're doing things, trustworthy people are doing things because they're out of a sense of humility. And I'm sure some of you who see this will understand when I say some people are so proud in their humility. And it's distressing to see that. Yeah, it really is. But other people, sort of like those philanthropists who announce how much they're giving and how much they're doing. "Look at me and my humility." Yeah. No, just do it when no one knows. Be humble. Um, and it's so true with trust as a characteristic. The other thing is they're available. Um, I've been times in my life where I've, quotation marks, tried out for help, and various people have come. They were available, and it meant so much to me, an incredible amount to me. And the challenge I find, once again, I lead a very busy life, is to be available for those people. To be able to sit down with them, put an arm around them, and say, "It's okay, I'm there for you." That develops trust. And so if you want to develop trust, that's what you really need to look at. There's a friend of mine in my life I've known since grade 4. He is the most trustworthy person I know. He's amazing. And I know I can rely on him 100% of the time. And I know that he exhibits all those different characteristics I just outlined then. Yeah, he's a person of integrity, he's consistent, he's compassionate, he's humble, he's amazingly resourceful, and he's available. And he inspires me. He really does. He inspires me to be a better person. And having people like that in your life is an absolute privilege. And when you think about your own life right now, just think of the people that are in it. Do they inspire you to become more trustworthy? Do they inspire you to become better of who you are? And I must admit, I was just talking to Rosalind before this talk. I was talking about trustworthiness and everything like that. She's another person that inspires me. My wife inspires me to learn to be better. And we do need those people in our lives. And if you're looking around at the people you know and you say, "Well, none of them really inspire me," then go and find someone that really inspires you to become better. a better person. So what do I look for in people that I regard as being trustworthy? One of the things I look for is their fruit. You see, uh, there's a term, dare I say, in the Bible, it says, you will know them by their fruit. What does that actually mean? It means look at what they do, not just what they say. And fruit takes a while to develop. Like it starts off like a little bud on the branch, and slowly grows into flower, and then and so forth, and it develops over time. And so I'm not just looking at bang, yeah, that big flash, wow. I'm looking for the fruit over time. And when I look at people, particularly in business, I'm looking at what they've done over time, and I'm looking at their behavior as well. I'm looking at who they associate with. I'm looking at the way they speak of other people. Do they speak highly of others, or do they try to pull them down? I look at particularly if I know them to any degree at their close relationships, of how they speak of their partner, how they speak of other people, even in their company and things like that. Do they speak highly of them, or do they run them down? It's because a person who is trustworthy, the one thing they cannot stand is gossip, because gossip is so destructive to relationships. And so I look at what a person like, look at their fruit, I look at who they associate with, look at their behavior, and the way they conduct themselves. Do they just conduct themselves with decorum? Here's another old world word, decorum. Do they conduct themselves with honor? Do they honor others? How do they speak? It's almost like a Bushido type philosophy. So how do Bushidos from the samurai with honor? And so I look at those things about a person and I say, this is a person that I can really learn from. This is a person who's trustworthy. They have the characteristics of a person who's trustworthy. Yeah, so it's a lot more about what people do than what they say. That's what trust is. And it takes time to observe that, because by their fruit, you will know them. Thanks a lot for that. Have a great weekend.